Today I'll be covering the basic introduction to power system protection, structure and different type of faults that can occur. What are the available solutions? The product design, if one has to go for product design for such application, what are the considerations that I'll be discussing here. I will explain this product design through a demo of contactor design. What are the advancement in these areas and what are the job opportunities for these areas I will be discussing. So to start with the introduction, power system protection, the main function is to isolate the faulty system and ensure the system reliability or ensure the system stability. So we all are aware that the power is being generated and transmitted over long distance and being distributed. So the main idea is we definitely should also provide the protection of such systems. So what are the main purpose of power system protection? The main important thing is human personal protection. Whoever is operating or whoever is maintain is doing the maintenance for such system, the first comes is their protection. The second is to improve the overall system stability. The third is equipment protection, and the last one is the overload and leakage protection. So to go further, if we see the structure of power system, as I said, there are three main subsystems. The one is generating station where the power is being generated. It can be AC or DC. It can be generated from our renewable or the conventional way of power generation. Once the power generation is done, it is been transmitted over long distance. So what we do is we again step up the voltage for reducing the losses, and uh, we design our transmission line for that. The next level is once the power is being transmitted and it is about to feed the different feeders and load, we again step down for the required voltage for those feeders and consumers. So these are the three areas where the individual protection has to be designed for independently. So that I'll cover in my next slide. What are the different type of faults that can occur? We all are aware that or we would have heard of this terminologies like short circuit faults or abnormal conditions like inrush current or leakage. Inrush currents are very common for few loads like a motor. Whenever we are starting, there is an initial inrush current. But if this inrush current sustains for certain amount of time, it is not healthy for other devices which are connected or the lines as well. So lines are not designed to carry such inrush current for longer time. So definitely, if such conditions are arising, there must be a protection for that as well. The third one is equipment protection. So there are various equipments connected in transmission line or overall system. If we look at generators, transformers, or the protection devices, if there are such failures into this equipments, it might not do the function which they are intend to do, and it can also lead to a major failures in the system. So if we have to ensure the security and the reliability of power system, these are the faults we have to provide protection from. To start with, what does really mean to have a short circuit analysis for any system? As we know, short circuit is an excessive amount of current flowing through low resistance path. For individual utilities or individual feeder, wherever the fault location is, as for that, the fault levels will be different. It is very high current, which can actually, if not prevented or if not isolated, can destroy entire system, or the people who are working in that line or operating nearby vicinity can be impacted as well. It generates excessive heat. In certain cases, it also lead to fires. We do hear such news that okay, there was a fault and it has led to fire. So how the short circuit analysis help us in designing of power system and the protection devices which are connected to it. So it is very much necessary that entire, if there is a generating station, there is a transmission line and there is a distribution, so we must analyze what is the fault level, because if I have to design a protection device, I must know voltage and current level for which I am designing the product. So this analysis is been carried out. There are various softwares which are being used for such analysis to take an idea, okay, if I'm suggesting a protection device for this feeder, these are the voltage and current levels. The next I will start is what are the various devices that are connected. The first is circuit breaker. Everybody, like most of us, are aware of very commonly uses miniature circuit breaker, molded case circuit breaker. There are relays and contactors. Relays are the sensing devices and contactors are the switching devices. Contactor as such doesn't have protection feature, but in conjunction with relays, these devices are used for protection as well. The next is a fuse, the residual current circuit breakers. These are specifically used for detecting the leakage in the system. So if we have a power in our household, we many times feel this there is a current in some equipments that we touch. So these current levels are very low. It is in the range of milliamperes, but human personals are not able to withstand those currents as well. So there are devices which can detect such micro or milliampere currents and also can be used for protecting personals. Then lightning arresters and metal oxide varistors are also used to suppress the voltage surges that appears across certain devices. To start with any product design, all these products that we just discussed are designed as per the standard compliance, because over the years there are applications have been derived, the working atmosphere or the system requirements are designed and standardized. So whatever product we design, their performances are also standardized, and there are standard for each and every product as per their applications. So these are the three standards that I have mentioned just for our reference and a bit of understanding. So there are International Electrical Society or Indian standards. As wherever your product is supposed to be used, you must comply to those standards. So if you are selling for the India, you must comply to your Indian standards. If you are selling for some other geographical location, you must comply to those standards. So if we talk about IEC 60947, that covers low voltage switchgear and control gear. So if your product falls under this application, you must have the compliance to this standard. The second is 60898 electrical accessories, which comes as a wire, your miniature circuit breakers, your RCCBs and RCBOs that we use it for household application. The next is 61008, which is specifically designed for standard procedure for residual current operated circuit breakers without integral overload protection. Means RCCBs do not have integral MCB function. MCB is a separately connected, RCCB is separately connected device. But there are also devices which is a combination of both MCB plus RCCBs. Those are known as RCBOs, residual current overload protection devices. So if we have to start the design, what are the different design approaches that are being used into industry? So I'll just briefly discuss how the product is being taken while designing. To start with, if suppose I know, okay, I am designing a protection device which has a short circuit level of suppose 10K, and I'm designing miniature circuit breaker for that. So how do I start my design? So there are theoretical and mathematical methods to do that. Means there are some in any product there will be context, there will be some solenoids. So if I have to design the context, there are theoretical approaches for it. Once the design is been done, we do simulation to validate various things. Okay, if this is a current carrying and conductor, heat should not be generated that much. So there are some thermal analysis incorporated. There are some electromechanical analysis, magnetic analysis that we do before finalizing the design. So what are the different analysis which are very popularly being used in industries are finite element analysis. This is mainly used for magnetic analysis, structure analysis and thermal analysis. Then motion analysis. If suppose I'm designing any magnetic actuator, how do I know what is its pickup velocity or what is it pickup force or the hold on force? So there are some analysis which are specifically done. Even the motor, whenever there is a design of motor, people do motion analysis to see its various performance parameters. The third one is circuit simulations. People are very much aware and widely using MATLAB for this. Then load flow analysis. Like I said, entire system must be simulated to understand various system parameters. So load flow analysis is very widely used for various utilities. And what are the softwares used are ANSYS, Magnet, JMAG, all these three are FEA tool for very popularly used for magnetic analysis. MATLAB, LT-SPICE, PSCAD, PSPICE. PSCAD is also very very commonly being used for various load flow analysis and predicting fault before even it occurs. So continuously system parameters will be monitored or checked so that the future prediction of the fault or any abnormal condition can be made. So if you look at how the product design is being looked at from industry's perspective, so like I said, if suppose I know this product I am designing, so first of all, very first what we do is we collect the voice of customer. So where the product is going to go, take those parameters, what are the unique technologies or the specifications people are coming up with, what the competitors is offering, what is the price. So there is a complete market survey which is being done in the beginning of the product design. Then we finalize from those from those voice of customer and market analysis, we derive the product specifications. Okay, this is the dimensions, this is the current level, this is the opening time, if there is a fault isolation time. So these are the all performance parameters and specifications are derived from the first step, that is market analysis. Once you have a product specification in hand, the next thing is we develop various concepts to achieve those specifications. Okay, this is how the my magnetic actuator will be working, or this is how the contact will be able to carry this much current. So these are all various concepts will be evaluated constantly with so many analysis and mathematical calculation. And finally, whatever design is ready, there will be a prototype testing for it, and all the important performance are validated on prototypes first before we go for detailed design. So after validating the performance on prototypes, the next step comes is the detailed design. What does it mean is, from this point of view, product is ready for the final manufacturing. So we give all the component specific component dimensions and design to manufacturing team for manufacturing those part. Now again, like I said, these are all standard products, goes into standard markets, so has to go for certification testing as well. So once your tooled up prototype is ready, tooled up means final product is ready, it undergoes entire sequence as per the standard for the validation. So once this is validation is successfully passed, product is actually ready to launch in the market and product is given the approval for mass manufacturing. So this is how the entire product cycle, design cycle looks like. So if we take the case of contactor design, the first figure shows the final product, how it looks. So if you take the cross section of this product, it has contact system, the top part, and this is the contact system, and this is the electromagnetic system. So like I said, how do we incorporate various designs and theoretical expressions that we study? How do we incorporate those into taking design? So if you see this is the fixed contact, this is the moving arm. Moving arm is connected to your electromagnet, this moving electromagnet. So initially when we are just starting out the design, we would know, okay, this much force this magnet is supposed to generate so that it can start the travel and it can bring this entire assembly down. So if you see this analysis, so if you see, this is how the initial specifications of this electromagnets were made, and then FE analysis is run to check whether magnet is able to travel fully. Once it is traveled, is it able to remain in the closed condition? So these are all the checkpoints which are being analyzed in soft only. Once everything is fully done, we go for the, okay, if these are the final specifications for this electromagnet and dimensions, let us go for the tooled up sample. So if you see here, it started the movement. If you see here, it again opened up and closed. So is this a final design? Can I say this as a final design? Because finally what I want magnet to close and it should remain in the closed condition. But here what is happening, because of impact, it is again opening a bit and again getting closed. So is it a successful design, or it is a best design? So if you think, what will happen is, whenever the magnet, this entire moving assembly is moving for the first time, these contacts are also getting closed. So what happens is, the contacts have already started conducting the current. And if this entire assembly is again impact and going back, means contacts are opening again. So there will be again a contact opening at the rated current, which is also not intended, because this if such behavior is there continuously, whenever you are operating this contactor, if there is a reopening of contacts happening, the entire overall life of this contact will go down, because slowly this will see the arc and it will deteriorate the material on the contact surface. So this is not the best design. So if this is how we do iterations and come up with what finally we need, we want something which this phenomena of reopening is known as double pickup in the industry. So it is not intended phenomena. So we change again the coil parameters and try to achieve what it is really needed. So if we and now I'll explain you the next product, that is RCCB. This product I want to explain from the perspective of manufacturing process, how there are challenges from engineer side. So like I said, RCCBs are popularly used for leakage protection. So how does it do leakage protection is, there is a current sensor and all three phases and neutral are being passed through that current sensor. Current sensor is core balance current transformer is here CT is used. So if there is a leakage in the system, the neutral difference of neutral current and this summation of these three current will not be same. So whatever current is going, the return current will have some difference. So resultant current in this 4 wire will generate voltage in the secondary of this current sensor. So as you can see, this coil is connected to the permanent magnet relay. So if you look at the construction of this relay, what are the parameters are? This is the electromagnet, and there is a permanent magnet connected to it. So normal condition, when there is no leakage condition, this will remain in the closed condition because of force generated by magnet. Whenever there is a fault, this coil current sensor will generate a voltage across this secondary winding, and this field will oppose the permanent magnet field. So this device will open and it will in turn open the contacts. So this is how the fault is being isolated. So if we see the challenges from manufacturing perspective, the major thing comes is a magnetization and demagnetization process, because when you are really operating at such a low current, the leakage currents are of milliampere range, 10 milliampere, 30 milliampere. So overall that power which is being generated by this current sensor is in the range of 50 microVA or 100 microVA. If we has to manufacture a design product for this slow power, it is very challenging to maintain the operating point of this permanent magnet. So challenges come from the process side also. So permanent magnet material or the CT material variation, because independently even the magnet has a variation in its coercitivity. There are various new materials are being developed with the lower size and very strong in coercitivity, but we really need to explore those materials and finalize, okay, finally this is what we are going to use for our product. All these things we analyze in finite element analysis or theoretically before we really propose this change into the product. Then welding process between the permanent magnet and electromagnet. So if we take the case, permanent magnet naturally has magnetism, so it will definitely keep electromagnet attracted. But if I really need a fixed operating point, just keeping into near to each other will not help, because there will be a variation. And when I'm designing millions of products, such variations cannot go into the final end customer, because then these are all standard operating products. It will operate in certain range. So cannot have infinite variations. So to control that, some procedures are being fixed. How do we connect electromagnet and permanent magnet? Then the dimensioning tolerances. As I said, this product is a very small product, has a very low power to operate with. So the tolerances comes of the micron level, 1 micron, 2 micron. So it is very difficult to achieve in real products as well. And the last challenge is ease of assembly. Any product as an engineers we design should have very much ease in the assembly side also. So these are all areas where engineering really helps to come up with the innovative ideas and innovative concept, bring it new things into. The next topic I will cover is building electrical products. This specifically I am bringing to show you that how the products are being evolved. If you look at our houses 10 years earlier, we just had 3-phase fuses to give a protection. If we look at now, there is a MCB, there is an RCCB. So this product on the left side, it is known as the switch size MCB. This is a new product again for building electrical products, means building or industry related products. This specifically has been developed for direct load protections. So if I have a geyser or air conditioning system in my home, this which are very prone to have a fault, I'll directly use this switch size MCB to operate that device. so that if there is a fault on these loads, my entire house power need not cut off by operating the main MCB. So this is how the new products are being evolved as well, because RCCB, I don't think so before 10 years, 12 years, we had RCCBs connected in each home. But today, many homes, almost 50, 60 homes, are having RCCB for leakage protection. So, so slowly, system is being evolving. At the same time, our understanding about the system operation is also being evolving. So, these are the areas where the products have come. Products will keep on coming, and this is how the entire technology will evolve. So, what are the evolution and alternatives in this area? So, I am just covering briefly on. If we talk about the electric breakers, whatever I explained in my previous slides are electromechanical based circuit breakers. But when these breakers are being proposed for renewable or DC grid, electromechanical breaker has longer operating time. Means if fault occurs, it takes around 15 to 20 millisecond to clear the fault. But when there is a DC, and if we allow DC to have a fault for 15 to 20 millisecond, because of its low impedance, the fault will penetrate very fast into the system, and it will really damage many devices which are connected to it. So it is not advisable to use this electromechanical devices directly for the DC. So there is a new technology which people are coming up with, hybrid circuit breaker, which is combination of electromechanical and solid state breaker. So what does it do is, electromechanical breakers have very great advantage of having low loss. So we take the advantage during the normal condition, and whenever there is a fault, the current will be given to solid state path, and it will be commutated there. So the overall fault isolation time is very less compared to electromechanical breaker. The third alternative is pure solid state based configurations. So in this case, the fault isolation really happens within hundreds of microseconds. So you can imagine that if the new technologies, like if I say about uh, integrating the DC into the system and directly using this DC for our household appliances or the local industries, it will be very useful if we have solid state configurations, so that the system will have more security and reliability. What are the advancement overall as a system wise coming up? So if we look at that overall power system on a broader aspect, these are the areas where the lot of research is going on, and the future grids are going to have all these components connected to it. So solid state transformer or multi-frequency grid. What does it mean to have multi-frequency grid is, suppose we have right now 50 hertz as a standard frequency, and whatever generation we do, we try to synchronize with it and feed it to the grid. But there are research going on. Can we not have whatever is being generated directly connected to the grid? Because synchronization is such a big issue. So if we have a DC generated from solar, why can't we just feed it to grid? So grid will be carrying both DC and AC. So when the renewable integration will be largely incorporated, these are the all new areas which are being looked upon, and at the same time, based on that, our products are also should be made accordingly. Because today, if I whatever contactor we discussed in the previous slide are very much suitable for the AC grid, but if it has to see both frequencies, your overall peak current will change. So will that peak current really bring continuous heat it will be generating, or will it increase the temperature rise of the product? All these aspects must be incorporated whenever there are major research or major changes happening in the grid. Then the next is electrical vehicles, multi-level converters. On power system utility side, what are the new areas coming up is wide area measurement system. So what happens is right now, like we in the first slide, we have seen the structure of power system. So after generation, there will be a long transmission. So there will be certain station in between where the voltages and currents are being monitored continuously, but with respect to each other. So we would not know whether the reference that we are considering is a right reference or not. So in wide area measurement technique, what we do is we design a standard reference for entire system through GPS system, and everything will be controlled and monitored with respect to one standard reference. So the chances of errors are greatly reduced. The next is a smart grid. Everything is becoming smart. So power system also has many advancement in these areas. Grid management, energy storage, wireless power transfer. These are all upcoming field which is coming, upcoming research which is being incorporated into power system. So like I said, if you look at the renewable integration, it has lot of opportunity to bring change into the way power is being delivered to our home as well. So there is a option of directly using DC, which is being generated from solar. We need not feed it to grid. But is our equipments, household equipments, are capable of it? So we need to look all this aspect. The second is, once if there is a standalone grid and battery connected, the power flow will be in both direction. So is our protection devices bi-directional for such applications? Right now, whatever devices, electromechanical devices, what we discuss, can be used for both direction. But when we go for solid state based devices, we really have to ensure the bidirectionality in those devices. The next is solid state transformer. This is again an upcoming field or alternative to the conventional transformer to reduce its size. When we see the transformer for 100 kilovolt or 230 kilovolt, it is very huge in size, conventional transformer. So people are going for this solid state transformer where power, it's a AC to AC, but it is done through semiconductor devices. Those devices are being operated at high frequency. So when you are going for high frequency, the overall magnetic size reduces very much. Non-linearity will be there into the grid. The respective protection devices are also supposed to change accordingly. Then, like I said, electrical vehicles, definitely electrical vehicle is considered as a future. Many big companies have already started bringing their products. So if you look at the grid after 5 years, right now maybe we have 100 or 200 vehicles on road, but after some years, everybody would at least prefer this. So in the evening time, once everybody comes home from office and all, people would put these devices into these vehicles into the charging. So again, your utilities, that peak load chart will change. Right now the peak load hours will be different. Once there is a EV evolution will be implemented on ground, it will be different. So definitely load flow analysis is done, and it's very useful analysis for such changes in the grid. Like I said, smart grid, you all might be aware of the fact that everything that we do are also being monitored. Like how we do it in our phones, and we start getting recommendation on Google and other website that we visit. Like that in power system also, what is your consumption per day, what all devices consumers are being operating for what time duration, every data is being captured and monitored. The main reason is nothing else. It is not the to encroach your privacy. It is to monitor the system and predict that, okay, these are the systems and these are the faults being these are the loads being used, so that it can predict the fault or any abnormality or any unforeseen situation, so that the entire system reliability can be increased. So smart grid is another field which is developing very fast. Then the next is the wireless power transfer. So this is not a new concept, but yes, again it has come into the research on a very fast pace. 100 years ago, people had suggested this way of transferring power, so that the resistance of the system, entire power line, can be avoided, and the losses of the transmission losses and the distribution losses will be almost negligible. But it could not be implemented for the larger scale, which can fulfill the overall, like the countries, big countries cannot be fed through wireless power transfer. Now again, a lot of researches are going on. So devices that we discussed in the previous slide are used where the wire is there. So suppose if we go for wireless transfer, there won't be wire to sense current to connect to these devices. So definitely if we go for such level of power transfer, our protection devices are also should be evolved accordingly. So to conclude my seminar, overall, if you see the broader perspective of power system, lot of research is being conducted, and there will be new changes, new challenges coming up. At the same time, if you see the product level changes, if we talk about one small permanent magnet relay, even the permanent magnet has a lot of research being conducted, and a lot of new materials are coming up, so that the sizes can be reduced. Even the transformer 100 years ago, and if you see the transformer now, has changed a lot. Initial whatever materials were available have evolved so much. We are going with better materials, better technologies, manufacturing processes have improved. So there is a scope of contribution at every level. So if you look at the job opportunities also, the main thing is research and development. There is a huge research scope in all areas, even the product level or the entire system level. The next is a product design. We definitely can contribute to these areas. The product quality, after the design, product quality is another thing, because only those products sustain in the market which are quality products. Apart from cost, that is, this is the second thing which is very much important from industry's perspective. Then commissioning, product validation, testing, business development. Like I said, product manufacturing is also very much important. Product sales and marketing, power plant engineering, utilities. These are the areas where there is a huge scope of engineers and us to contribute. So this is my seminar today, and these are the references that I have used for my presentation.